Welcome back to Riftforge Studio. Today we're going to have a little chat about the Imperialis Militia Army List PDF that Warhammer community site dropped, presumably via Forge World or Specialist Games team. We've wanted to do this for a while, but real life tends to get in the way. I have managed to pin down both Rick and Luke from the studio to have a chat about it. So, say hello Rick, say hello Luke.
Hello.
Hello Luke, hello Rick.
Perfect, I knew one of you was going to do that. I'm glad you did.
It's the invitation, mate. It's there to be done.
Absolutely. Cool. So, as you'll see on screen, we've got the Imperialis Militia PDF. A lot of people have been waiting for this one, I think it's fair to say, because there's a lot of expensively assembled and converted militia armies out there for Horus Heresy that have been just twiddling their thumbs for a year. But it's here, and yeah, we'll have a walk through it. So I'm going to scroll down past all the interesting stuff that some poor person took a long time to write. I'm going to start at page 5, which is the army list. So, on here we have a little thing about allies, a little thing about the militia unit subtype, because they're their own subtype now, a little bit about the third line, and a little bit about mechanized. So, who wants to have a chat about the allies and militia unit subtype then?
Well, that paragraph answers the questions that we had a lot in first edition, where they were like, can you ally Solar and Imperial Army? And they've answered it for you. If you choose certain provenances, they will be distrusted allies. So it will go the same as Custodians and Sisters. They're both agents of the Emperor, or they're both Imperial Army and Solar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can be allies.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I've seen things on other Discords and other conversation, other channels and things suggesting that they can't, because they do fulfill that Imperial Army line on the allies chart. Same, but you can't ally Sons of Horus with Sons of Horus and that sort of thing. But that's pretty clear that you can. So that for me needs addressing probably in FAQ, because the old you can't argue with stupid, right? So someone's going to say, oh, I'm afraid you can't ally Solar and Militia because they're Imperial Army. And, it's going to happen. So it's nice that they've put that in a paragraph.
And I think it's quite nice, actually, that compared to normal, where it's the lack of information, they've even gone as far as actually giving us what level of allies they will class as, depending on which provenance you take, saying that some of them will be distrusted because of the certain provenance, like the Ogryn conscripts, which I think has been quite a popular option that's been discussed so far. So I think they're actually giving us a bit more information than we might have expected on that topic, on that subject, to be fair.
Yeah, that's good as well. I feel about that. Abhuman Muster. Interesting that they've distrusted allies by all Space Marine Legion detachments. You think things like, I don't know, maybe the word bearers and stuff, have they, corrupted these humans?
Yeah, I mean,
something above that, maybe. Maybe they just don't care, they're just cannon fodder, aren't they, I suppose?
I guess we can't hope for too much with the information that we get in these things, like there's gone kind of Space Marine Legions. So yeah, if you ally with Ultramarines with a bunch of Ogryns or Abhumans, they're probably going to say, in theory we're allies, but no. Whereas, word bearers are probably going to go, I don't care enough about you to give a crap, I suppose.
Well, either way, I imagine all legions are going to point them and say, you walk over there towards all the angry people with guns, and when you've run out, we'll mop up.
Operation Human Shield, absolutely.
Cool, okay, so allies covered, and that's good, and any sensible person is going to allow that to happen anyway, even if rules is written technically at the moment you can't. But that's fine. Right, so militia unit subtype, a couple of little bits in here that we want to have a look at. Luke, you're the militia.
The big one for me is as soon as a militia unit runs, it's gone. Cannot regroup and must fall back until it leaves play. Wow. You fail that leadership. See you later, mate. You ain't coming back.
Yeah,
that is huge.
Tanks popular, isn't it?
Yeah, but when we get to the provinces, there's no real. I don't think I've seen an armored province. There's the one that lets you take the demolishers as troops or additional heavy supports. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There's not one that lets you take like the equivalent of an armored breakthrough, I suppose. That's what you mean.
I guess the balance to that is that the tanks are already quite squishy. If we're jumping ahead a little bit, they're already quite squishy. But if you could then take so many cheap tanks as troops, that just to negate one of the big things, and I think a lot of this stuff is fluffy. A group of really cheap levies, they fail a leadership test. Yeah, they probably are going to run away in absolute terror. So I really like this rule. I really like it.
I mean, it is realistic. It's realistic in the game of toy soldiers. Humans are not as brave as transhuman. They shouldn't be.
No, I think that's captured pretty well. I mean, there are, and like I said, we'll come on to provinces in a minute, but there are ones that allow you to bump up your leadership and that sort of thing. And if you have your discipline masters, again, we'll come on to those, but you can execute someone if they dare to run away and then they just they don't leg it. So there are ways to mitigate that, but yeah, on the whole, your levies and stuff are going to be sprinting for the hills if they start taking bolter fire.
Well, I mean, it's different parts of this rule. I mean, if you like some of this, if you're in combat and you get charged, you have to do another morale test, and if you fail it, you run again, and you can be swept.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you're running away and someone charges you, you're auto removed.
Yeah.
There's no leadership.
But
so that's you can get in the way if you're sorry.
No, go on, Rick. You're on.
No, I was going to say I guess if you're running away, you can get in the way. You can be in the way. If you have a lot of levies, you're probably going to be destroyed if you run back and you're trying to run back through your own troops and there's no way around. So it's kind of a rule for the sake of having a rule, but it's interesting to see, you could just see people kind of, instead of multi-charging a unit, they'll charge it with one unit, wait for it to run away, and then just run it down really quickly to get that, kind of that jump across the board, essentially.
Although I guess if you're trying to... Well, no, hang on, because even if a unit's running, it would count as destroyed, wasn't it? If the rules of this army are that once it's running, it's going to run off the board, it's effectively dead anyway. So I'm not sure under what circumstances you would bother charging it.
Yeah, I mean, it really plays in a way that you almost don't want your infantry in close combat.
But I think there's also, like I said, there's that point, as someone who's always run combat armies, if someone's running away and you're within, an 8-inch charge or whatever, you've got nothing to lose by trying to charge a unit that's falling back, because it gives you an opportunity to move.
That's true.
Essentially for free up to 12 inches. They can't overwatch you. Even if you fail, you're getting a surge move. So it's essentially giving you that stepping stone somewhere on the board, if it's relevant.
Yeah, fair point. But no, I think it's perfectly thematic. If your 40 levies get charged by a couple of Galvor back, they are literally going to poo themselves and run away.
Exactly.
So, no, I think that's fine.
I mean, it's not like Astartes where, you can have your unit's broken, you're below 25%, you can still try and regroup. If you are below half and you're running, you ain't coming back.
No, that's true.
And I think the last bit, Luke's already kind of touched on it, but this first bit about militia unit is basically a bunch of negatives to leadership tests and running away. If you ever have to take a leadership test apart from pinning, you're dead. You're just gone.
I mean, you start running, even if you're over half unit size, and you start running, if you're, as we get to it, their leadership is not great.
No.
Rolling below a 5 and a 6 on 2 dice? Unlikely.
And also,
I actually do all right at this.
Combat, you might have to roll, regularly be rolling double ones, which is just not going to happen, is it?
Yeah.
No, okay, but to be fair, if you have this army, is very capable, if you're so inclined, of putting about 400 models on the board.
Oh yeah.
Right. So there needs to be a way to mitigate that kind of sweeping. I hate using the phrase because it's a very 40k phrase, but that board control. You put 400 models down. It's going to be a very boring game for a start, anyway, isn't it? If you've got to sit there just chewing through loads and loads of. I'm thinking back to Luke's fearless tech thrall blobs in 1.0, and this sort of thing. They are an absolute nightmare to get through. Really, really frustrating. So
exactly.
This needs to be in for that reason. More than
it's essentially a 30k orc proxy list, isn't it?
I've already seen people saying they're going to use orcs, actually.
Yeah, it's 3,000 points. Well, guess what? 3,000 points is a lot of levies. Deal with all of them.
Yeah.
And the new edition, it's a lot of kind of mid to high strength stuff with middling AP, but not a lot of massed shots.
No, and the things that have large blast templates now tend to have like small templates, like the Vindicators come down, and I think
It's still too soon to talk about that.
And if you turn up to an event where people are trying to do an all-comers list, strong chance they're not going to be equipped for massed infantry at such a scale.
I think all the events that, with my attrition hat and all the events that we run and all the events I've been to, I haven't seen any lists I don't think that could deal with 400 levies. Just target priority. Where do you even start? You think, okay, this turn I've deleted 2 or 3 squads. Sound okay? Well, here's another whatever it is. Another.
If they've got 10, 12 squads and they've got to chew through 3 or 4 squads a turn, and with the levies, you've got that chance to get them back on the board.
Yeah.
Which again is a rule we'll come on to.
We'll come on to those, yeah. All right. So militia unit subtype, thematic. Yeah, we like it. It's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. So, third line.
Oh, this is a biggie.
Yeah, this one's been. I've had a lot of people I've seen have been. Yeah, this is really great. It's really thematic, and a lot of people have been boiling. I've seen about this, so I'd be interested to see what you think, Luke.
I can see both sides of this, but for me, it makes sense. These are the guys that aren't on the front line of the war. These are the guys that are getting brought up from your home worlds that are fucking subsectors away, pushed to the front line in a rush using legacy equipment. Their kit's not going to be great, and it's reflected in the points. So third line makes sense.
Yeah.
Is it a strong rule? You're not kidding, yeah. What you might have got away with as a glance before, you're rolling on table to see if you're losing your weapons or you're not moving or you're snap firing or you're exploding. Yeah.
So would this, presumably this would work with Sunder too, if you roll to...
Oh, yeah.
Your last scanners are going to be even more murderous, aren't they? Because, you're going to be re-rolling for... No, not Sunder, what am I talking about? What's the... Tank Hunter, is it? What's the one you can re-roll?
No, it's Sunder on last cannons.
Yeah, Sunder on last cannons.
Yeah. But the bit below it, you will never score a victory point for killing any of these units.
Which is a nice trade-off, to be fair.
Even if they're Lords of War.
So you'll not get price of failure.
Yeah, does that stack with price of failure? Because that's a separate rule, isn't it? It doesn't specifically say price of failure. I expect that's what it means.
I know.
But
it'll probably get FAQ'd in 6 months. But it says you may never score victory points to the destruction of the model with this unit type, even if it's Lord of War.
Yeah,
so price of failure is a victory point.
Yeah.
But you don't score victory points for killing these units. So if you kill a Baneblade, yeah.
I think I'd come down on the side of yes, it's powerful, but as you say, don't give them victory points. And it is quite thematic. These tanks would be recovered and stuck together with JB Weld and that sort of stuff. It's just going to be a bit ramshackle, aren't they?
You could make an amazing Talon army with this because the tanks are recovered. They've been in storage for years, and it would be thematic.
I think as well, what a lot of people are kind of potentially a little bit salty about is the fact that tank armies for militia were cheap and effective in the last edition. In this edition, with these rules, they're still cheap, they're still effective, but there is a noted trade-off.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen in this edition, particularly with the main rules, there's that acknowledgement that tanks were quite dangerous in the last edition without a lot of negatives. For example, if you're in a transport that blows up now, it matters.
Uh-huh.
And I think with these, as well as being thematic, it's that trade-off of, you could have 10 Lehman Russes, whatever it is now, but there is a negative. One of the things I've actually seen, though, is people trying to complain that this third line result really negatively affects super heavies, and I think there's perhaps that over-exaggeration with that. I don't think it does. It gives you an additional chance to roll on the penetrating table and get those extra hull points off. But otherwise, it's still a 1 in 6 chance.
Yeah.
No, to get the extra hull points, you've still got to have that low AP weapon because otherwise it's 1 to 6. And what's the super heavy going to do on a 1 to 6? Nothing. It doesn't care.
Exactly. So I think that part of it is a kind of null argument. It doesn't really affect your super heavies that badly. But also, as we'll come on to, some of your super heavy options are hella cheap, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, there's
one
not a
that-
lot in there that's super heavy anyway, really.
No. The thing that comes to my mind as well is, with everything going from glancing to penetrating, you're going to see more of these tanks exploding, and that strength 8 hit got the potential to trigger not a glance, but it goes to the pen. So again, you're rolling on a pen table. If you're immobilized and you take another hit, you're an exploding. You're now doing another strength 8 hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'll be amazing to see if it ever happens, but
I'd not really thought about that potential for chain reaction because, of course,
Yeah,
you get a lot of militia tank players just parking lot at the back.
Yeah, that would be a legitimate risk, I think.
yeah.
So,
I mean,
hang on,
it's that.
Luke, you're a militia player and a solo orcs player. Is that Lee Milleras armor 10 at the back?
Depends. I think with the Solar, because there's a different variant, some of them are armor 11 on the back, but the base model is still armor 10.
So you're going to be causing penetrating hits with bob gun fire in the rear arc.
Yeah, which will be interesting.
So that never turn,
Oh,
never turn your back on the enemy.
No, absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so I think it feels like that one's fairly straightforward.
Yeah,
We've got opinions on it, right?
Strong, it's amusing, thematic, fun rule. Yeah.
Cool. So, mechanized units. Now, this is to tackle the likes of Sentinels, right? Mechanized unit subtype. Because we've had armored types, we've had dreadnoughts and so on, but we haven't had anything like this just yet. It does have a lot of the same or similar rules that dreadnoughts and armigers have. Things like the first one there, successful wounds caused by attacks with the poison or flesh being special rules must be re-rolled. Fair enough. All weapons when making a shooting technically part of a reaction. So, I mean, if this feels fairly straightforward, this is not really anything we haven't seen before in other stuff. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, they're fairly standard, to be honest. I think it's that way of pulling your Sentinel walkers into almost a dreadnought theme or category without calling them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're basically like light dreadnoughts, aren't they? With this,
Yeah,
even down to the wording of the haywire and detonation battlesmith stuff it's affected as if it had the dreadnought type.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's.
Yeah, and it's also gone into like mechanized unit may not be joined by anything other than another mechanized unit, which is almost like the monstrous and the dreadnought rules.
Yeah, of course, because you can squadron the Sentinels, can't you? But you can't squadron dreadnoughts anymore. That's sailed. Okay, I'm content to skip past that. Really, to be honest, that's pretty basic.
Yeah, it's just an explanation of Sentinels. It's fairly straightforward.
Cool. Okay, so moving on to warlord traits. Any of these stick out for you guys?
I quite like the Merchant Princeling one. It feels a little bit more streamlined.
Do you want to talk through what that is?
Yes, so Merchant Princeling, all of the weapons possessed by the Warlord get with this trait gain the Mastercrafted special rule. Before any models are placed onto the battlefield, as part of the deployment, the controlling player of this Warlord may select a single unit under their control designated as the Lifeguard unit. The Lifeguard unit must be composed entirely of models with the Militia unit subtype, and all models in the Lifeguard unit gain the Heavy unit subtype if they did not already have it, and may re-roll all failed to hit rolls of 1 made in any phase or as part of a reaction. The Warlord with this trait must be deployed as part of the Lifeguard unit and may not voluntarily leave that unit during play. In addition, any army whose Warlord has this trait may make an additional reaction during their opponent's assault phase, unless the Warlord has been removed.
Okay.
So I like it. It is. They're all fairly wordy. What I like is, so I look at this as if it's similar to the Armistos previously in the first edition, where he joins the unit and everyone gets mastercrafted. Except hands up and a little clap for GW. They've streamlined that rule much better. Instead of giving them mastercrafted and having to roll every person separately, they've just gone, you know what, they re-roll once.
Yeah, real ones, yeah. Which
Easy.
is what the opposite should have been in the first place. Because, I love the Volkite Colvin in 1.0 as much as the next person, but my god. I
Yeah.
blocks of 4 things for Mastercrafted was just
painful.
Really annoying. Yeah, okay, that one's pretty good. The Marcher Lord battle hardened one is, I would say, functionally irrelevant almost for a militia model.
If they're toughness 3 and they go to toughness 4 with battle hardened, great. You're still going down to a power fist.
Yeah, or,
from an Astartes.
or anything that's strength 8, any missile,
Dreadnoughts.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Unless it takes you above kind of effective kind of toughness 5, then I'm not a fan. I think it's overrated for small toughness models, really. Yes, he's not going to be instant killed by an autocannon, but autocannon's got loads of shots anyway, so.
Yeah.
I guess it also just makes it a little bit harder for bolters to hurt him, right? But that's about it. Like you say, it's...
No, because any raises instant death threshold. It's not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I can't understand it. And this was like last edition, right? Some of the Warlord traits were worded quite fancily, but not great. And some were fantastic. The one that made him like eternal warrior and absolute combat beast as a squishy human used to infuriate me. But
everyone did it.
I think the one I quite like actually is Ruthless Tyrant. I love the fact that they've kind of gone that kind of chaotic orky approach and gone, here's a boss that instills fear in everyone. It doesn't matter if it's friendly or enemy, it's fear. I think that's brilliant. The idea of a guy who just goes, yep, I'm such an arse. My own guys are terrified.
And it mitigates the falling back stuff, yeah.
It's -1. Is it -1 for leadership or -1 for leadership, isn't it? Fear bubble.
Fear 1, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Pretty good. I'm not sure I'd pick that either, to be honest. I don't know.
So it's all right, like say, if you want to go for a blob of levies, because you can just remove D6 models instead of falling back. So you can make them essentially kind of pseudo-fearless.
Which is
other than that,
big for this yacht. Yeah, okay. I'm actually looking at that Marcher Lord one again. So just to cut back to where we were. All units are immune to fear with that Warlord trait when he's on the table. Which is
your first pinning test.
Yeah, and you basically auto pass your first pinning check.
Again, I think that's really situational, isn't it? Because not much apart from demons causes fear in this edition. Primarchs, maybe?
Night Lords are fairly rampant with it.
Yeah, Night Lords,
yeah.
But like you say, you're not going to run into it every single game, like so that's pretty good. But it's not. You want a Warlord trait, really, or special rules that are going to have an effect in every game. Ideally, give you some bonus. So the one above, the Beloved of the People, if the Warlord's removed, then all friendly models in the attachment gain +1 to their weapons, skill, and strength characteristics, and feel no pain until the end of the turn. So that's a little bonus. When your Warlord gets killed, you get that bonus, but he has to be killed for you to get.
I mean, it's situational again. Like, what if you're on like the back end of your turn and you're doing a charge, and you charge in and your Warlord gets sniped? You failed your charge. Your Warlord's dead. Right, that's the end of your game turn. You've just not got to use any of those special rules.
Well, it does say until the end of the controlling player's next player turn. So I think you would get it the next time you have a turn. But either way, I think it's a bit guff.
Yeah, I think it's one of those.
That's right. Sorry.
It looks quite strong, but I think actually you'd have to very specifically engineer your position to make it that worthwhile to lose your Warlord.
Yeah.
Do you want your Warlord at the front of the front of a charge or at the front of a unit just so you can give away VPs and then go, aha, the rest of my army is now this?
Yeah. Also, you would make him a sacrificial lamb, wouldn't you? You'd just be like, I'm going to chuck him into something and hope he dies so that I get this buff for the rest of my army, which is I don't know. I don't like it. I'm going to move on to the next page.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Feel No Pain. Great, they've got Feel No Pain. They're only toughness 3.
Yeah, okay. So, Feel No Pain is great against bolters.
Bolters, yeah.
Heavy bolter, maybe. Okay, alright. So, Robber Baron. All models, including all of this trait, get a +1 strength for the duration of any player turn in which they make a successful charge. Okay, so Furious Charge. Basically.
Yeah, but
they can't make
may
sweeping
not make,
advances.
which is kind of important for militia, because if you aren't running them down, and if you're winning combat and you're not running them down, you got that chance to get recharged.
Yeah, they're going to murder you next turn. Okay, hang on. However,
I mean,
whenever
the
you're
D-
eligible to make sweeping advance, controlling player must instead roll a d6 on a 4+, the controlling player gains D3 victory points. Okay, well, it feels like a weird warlord trait, to be honest.
It's weird for me because you don't want militia in combat, because
Or
if you start to lose combat and your leadership is as bad as it is,
unless, and I think this
also,
might stack. This might stack actually quite well with the Ogrin Provenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll come on to that in a minute. Connoisseur of Alien Curios. Okay.
I think this one is brilliant.
Yeah, okay, good, because I can't be bothered to read it, so someone else.
So
scan
this
through.
is this appeals to me when I was a kid playing Orcs in like 2nd, 3rd edition 40k, when you just had those random tables of effects where you could cause a D hit on your enemy, or you could smash yourself in the face and instant kill yourself.
Like the shock
This
attack.
isn't quite. Yeah, like you could hit someone with a strength 10 large blast, or you could teleport next to them. Like that sort of manic chaos. I don't think this is as crazy as that, but essentially, once per game turn at the start of any game turn, I think that's crucial wording. Any game turn doesn't say anything about yours or your opponent's. You roll on the table to see what artifact you've got. On a 1, you suffer a wound with the instant death special roll, and no invuls or damage mitigation rules can be rolls can be taken at all. So essentially, your warlord opens a treasure chest and annihilates himself.
So you could take invulnerables, you just can't take armor or damage.
Oh yeah, sorry, invulnerable. But then all units with one model within 12 suffer a D6 plus 1 hit, say a B4. So basically, your warlord goes nuclear and opens the Ark of the Covenant and just annihilates everyone within 12 inches.
If there was some way to guarantee a 1, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Just charge them in and detonate.
Like honestly, like if that was controllable, like Mac wants to play militia with this warlord trait, because he's almost guaranteed to roll a 1 with this.
Oh, I wish we had.
And you basically it turns your warlord into a semi-controllable nuclear bomb.
You are the tactical nuke of our army. Go forth.
I think it's brilliant. On a 2 and 3, you nominate a unit, friendly or enemy, within 12, and that unit suffers, again, friendly or enemy. So you can pick your own unit to suffer D6 plus 1, strength 8 hits, with D flag.
Why would
you have performed very poorly. Yes, you have performed very poorly. I'm very angry with you. Take some hits.
And then, and if there isn't one, you basically just, the warlord and his unit take that hit instead.
Okay. That's why you would nominate your own, if you didn't want to kill your warlord.
Yeah. But no, it says if no other unit can be nominated, it suffers your warlord.
But like, if there's no enemy, you'd have to nominate a friendly one or your warlord.
Yeah. The warlord, 4 and 5, the warlord and all models in the same unit gain rage and furious charge 2 for the remainder of that turn. Again, really specific. I think like this might play off with 1 or 2 of the provenances, but again, generally militia troops don't want to be in combat, unless of course you go cavalry, which is something we'll come on to, and everyone's quite excited about. Or 6 essentially is, it's the perils of the warp. Go Super Saiyan, enjoy yourself for the rest of that turn, but take a wound sort of thing. You gain Eternal Warrior, feel no pain 4+, not 5+. And if you roll that, it says, what's quite strange is it says if this result is rolled again.
Yeah, so for the next game turn you roll it again.
Yeah, but it says you gain Eternal Warrior and feel no pain for the remainder of the battle, and then if you roll it again, you get your +1 strength and toughness, and you can do it again the next turn if you roll another 6. So you could end up like toughness. You could be a monstrous creature almost. Toughness 6, strength 6.
Yeah, you have got to roll 3 6s though.
Oh yeah, and we're not likely to do that.
That's what I'm. So I'm not sure if I'm being a bit solid here. But at the start, it says once per game at the start of any game turn, you roll once on the table. 6 says you get Eternal Warrior feel no pain for the rest of the battle. Then it says if the result is rolled again, but it doesn't say what triggers it to roll again.
You just get a choice, don't you? You do it once per game turn, and you can do it at any point during the game turn.
Yeah, but you've rolled once. There's nothing to say why you would roll again.
It's not once per game. It's once per game turn.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I think I have been solid there. Sorry.
Yeah. I can see why you like it.
Yeah.
It's chaotic.
I think this is just mad. I don't think any logical player would ever take it, but I just think it's hilarious. I think I'd love to see a bat rep where a commander full of levies just charges into the thick of the enemy line and rolls a 1. Like, I'd love to see that. Or conversely, rolls a 6 and just sits there invincible forever.
Yeah, be good. I think I don't know. I think at events we'll see quite a few people with militia running that because it's funny.
Yeah, hilarious.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I mean, look at the guy at your last event, Neil, where he had he made a joke of himself because of the army he took, and how many units did he lose on the in-game effects? He lost like 50 odd guys or something, didn't he?
Oh, the solo player.
Yeah.
Yeah. He took 35 wounds from the auto bombardment that we put in.
That's amazing.
So if you are watching this, Richard, sorry about that.
I thought it was hilarious. It was just, and I think this is in the spirit of turning up to games to have fun rather than be someone who intends to push poo and annihilate people as quickly as possible.
We like to keep it less as non-sterile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep it fun.
You're there for fun.
Like a sterile environment, really, where it's just elbows and wheels will be putting out chessboards.
So just conscious of the fact that we are still on Warlord trains.
Yes, half an hour in, aren't we? Okay, right. So anyway, down to our first unit. Woohoo!
Whoop, whoop.
Imperialis Militia Force Commander. Cool. Okay, so has this guy changed much from? I mean, you can give him a mounted version now, obviously, which is sick. But has it changed much from the first offering from last edition?
I think we've looked. I think they've narrowed the field of what weapons are available. I can't remember if they could take Artificer armor before. Definitely can't anymore. No. They can still take Carapace, Power Armor, and an Iron Halo, and a Cyber Familiar. So he's still going to get the guy with 3+ Invulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't take.
Sorry, Rick.
Unless he powers up a Rick's Warlord trait.
I apologise. As we know, I'm that guy who's got a militia project on the shelf that I started in last edition, and actually I modelled my boss, my force commander, on the Krieg event only Commissar on horse, and I gave him a few bits to give him a cyber familiar and stuff. So now he actually has rules. He has rules. He can have Iron Halo and cyber familiar with a power fist. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I know a lot of people are in terms of the mounted version.
That is the big change from the last edition, that you can take a mounted force or mounted force commander.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that because I wanted to do a mounted army for a long time, a human army, be it solo or militia, and there was just no way to do it in the previous edition. So I'm delighted that this is now a thing.
Yeah, I was looking at all sorts of options last edition as to how I could take a mounted unit, just because I didn't want my commander on a horse to be kind of trotting along on his own like some sort of World War II general shooting anyone who tries to go the wrong way. This has got a lot of people excited, and quite rightly so. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting armies come out of this.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Being able to take that mounted commander as well, it comes with some really nice rules.
Go on, like what?
Like, well, he's
yeah.
got Relentless Scout, Hammer of Wrath 1, and he gains the cavalry unit. Yeah,
Yeah, Scout. Oh, of course it is. Yeah, there it is in black and white.
yeah.
Brilliant.
And he gets the cavalry unit subtype, so like 14-inch move as a scout. You get first turn. That's another 14-inch move. You've moved 30 inches nearly before you're.
Don't cavalry also still like ignore difficult terrain and stuff? Because they did last edition. I haven't checked, but last edition, like
I don't know if cavalry does.
because I know last edition, if you were a beast or cavalry, you ignored like difficult terrain, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that might be interesting to check. But
subtype. This will mean though.
So-
I think if he has cavalry, didn't they? Or maybe this is anti-grav. Maybe I'm going to confuse myself now. But they can't take damage mitigation rolls, can they, for shrouding?
That is the anti-grav.
That's
You
anti-grav,
cannot take shrouded. You
Okay,
don't.
that's
You
fine.
ignore difficult and dangerous.
But you can't take.
I'm not sure if you can end your turn there, and you can't take shrouded from terrain rolls because you're floating above it.
Cool. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go spin on. Okay, so provenances. I'm just a little bit conscious of time because I don't want to bore everyone for about 2 hours. So let's explain what provenances are then, and maybe pick a couple that we like, and maybe pick a couple that we don't like, or maybe ones that you're going to build yourselves for armies.
Sorry, I was just looking up cavalry type.
So-
It's interesting though. Yeah.
So I guess
they
for
can't
me,
be-
oh sorry.
Sorry. So yeah, so you could have your commander on cavalry, and he can't be pinned, can't be slowed down by difficult terrain, even when charging. But they do count difficult as dangerous,
Okay.
and they do fall back 3d6, not 2d6.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good that
so-
they can't be pinned though.
Yeah, because pinning's obviously a lot bigger now.
Yeah, that's good that they can't be pinned.
So he might trip over and kill himself, but he can't be slowed down.
Oh no, your horse's hoof has found a gopher hole and it's broken
Yeah.
its leg.
Off to the glue factory. Right. So I guess the provenances, a big one for me. I really struggled with this last edition, and I think actually there are a few more interesting options. I know Luke's got a couple, but sorry.
Like I said, do you want to explain what provenance is first? This is like effectively giving like a legion trait to your militia, right? So you got a bit of flavour.
Yeah.
You can tailor them how you want, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's a little bit kind of like a legion trait crossed with a rite of war. You notice on the Force Commander slot it says special rules, muster worlds, provenance. So of course you need a Force Commander to be able to take these, and this essentially gives you a subset of rules that are laid out, that enable you to build what essentially is an incredibly customized. You could have an event with 30 players, and based on their lists and provenances, you could end up with completely different lists for every single one of them, which I think is really nice, because you shouldn't, unless people find a way to power play it and then always pick the same one, a la Fury of the Ancients event. This should give people so much flexibility to find ways to build fun, interesting, but also quite effective armies.
Yeah, and
I won't.
Go on.
I was going to say I won't dwell on one in particular, but I know Luke's, kind of twitching in his chair about one to do with void jumpers. But I won't steal his thunder.
Luke,
It was so close to being amazing, and now it's a bit. Oh, I need to find loads of fucking las pistols.
He's sad now. So my militia army is going to be primarily cavalry. Right? I know everyone else seems to be doing cavalry, and that's fine. Kind of desert themes, using some of those Necromunda bugs as cavalry, and probably some Krieg riders and stuff for specialized cavalry and that sort of thing. And I'm probably going to use the Warrior Elite because that allows me to take Grenadiers, scoring Grenadiers, I think.
And it gives them that nice little boost to their leadership.
Yeah, is it scoring Grenadiers or just allows me to take Grenadiers without support squad? So I can take Grenadiers as my main thing, which is great. And I get a bonus to leadership, which is good as well because leadership for militia sucks. So That's what I'm going to use Warrior Elite, and then probably the I'm just going to scroll down a bit there for the Clan Folk levy at the bottom, so I can have all those extra fast attack slots for cavalry, and then my cavalry selected as compulsory troops gain +1 to leadership again, so they should stack up to 9, maybe leadership for those cavalry, or maybe 8, but certainly better than they were. So I'm going pure for the how much leadership can I boost these guys with so they don't leg it. Silence.
I love the Warrior Elite. I think it's really cool. The +1 to leadership is nice, but it's more your militia grenadiers. These grenadiers can be scoring units, or well, they're not even. They don't even need to be scoring. They're just not support squads anymore.
Yeah, exactly, yeah,
They can't be compulsory troops.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. Grenadiers and
I love grenadiers. I mean, I've got like 50 or 60 and the rest metal Kazakin models that I've used as grenadiers for years. But yeah, I mean, for me, it'll probably be Warrior Elite, and then I was looking at Survivors because the Void Jumpers, which
go on, talk about the Void Jumpers.
They're so interesting. It's like GW have gone, you could make an Elysian army, but we don't want to make it easy for you. You're never going to have weapons with more than 12-inch range because you've all got to have 2 las pistols.
Yeah, and also we can the entire Legion range. Thanks for that.
Thanks. I really, really like that. Thanks.
I'm going to scroll down and find that. Where is it?
It's this page 10.
Oh yes, option Void Jumpers for Survivors of the Dark Age.
It gives you Grenadiers and Command Carders the ability to take Legion Rhinos, Termites, or Land Raider Proteus, as long as they number 10 models or less.
And they all get 3rd line, obviously.
Yeah. And the Void Jumpers, it's almost like giving you a fast-moving troops choice to be able to score objectives or harass other units. But the fact they've only got a 12-inch range means if you're within 12 inches and you're shooting a Space Marine, they're going to move 6 inches.
Yeah.
And then they've got a 6-inch charge to take you out of the air.
Especially with the amount of kind of rights of war and stuff, or warlord traits that give you an additional reaction in some phases.
I mean,
it could just be a bit tricky.
It's not just that you're shooting somebody with a auto pistol that's strength 3 at a toughness 4. So yeah.
Okay.
The thought, I love the possibility of it, but it's just been not followed through all the way. Like, you could have given your troops options for the Void Jumpers, like the Militia Jetpack, without forcing them to have the 2 las pistols. And you could say, look, you can't have a heavy model and you can't have any heavy weapons, but you can get a Militia Jetpack for 20 units per model.
Yeah.
But it's just a little bit not quite right for me. So I would have taken Survivors of the Dark Age, but it just doesn't do it for me with the Militia Jetpack. I love the idea of the Recon Troopers with them, but I just don't know what they're going to do. They'll be good for like moving around the board and securing an objective, but then if you can do that with cavalry unit, they're a little bit tougher and a little bit faster. Why would you do it with jetpack guys? Yeah.
Yep, fair point. Okay, what about you, Rick? Anything stand out for you?
So I say I'm still undecided because my Krieg militia project is in various boxes. I'm not going to call them a pile of shame. It's a pile of future opportunity. But I think some of the ones I quite like. I like Alchem Jackers, just because it's a little bit different. You know, you give them Furious Charge. I don't think it makes a lot of sense unless you pick a certain other provenance, but you don't suffer negative modifiers to leadership characteristic in Assault, which is huge in this new one. And if less than half models have been removed and a morale check is made, they're pinned instead of falling back. So
that's also good.
That's huge, I think. And I think I think people will see the Friends on upgrade and see Furious Charge and think, nah, when am I going to use that? but actually just, not suffering negative leadership in combat and being pinned, not falling back, given that if you fall back now, you're gone, I think that's quite large.
Yeah, that is good.
Cyber Augmetics, I think, yeah, exactly. It's ability to stay still. Cyber Augmetics, I think, is quite good. It's not really much different to the last edition, apart from the fact that you now become the Sworn Brothers with mech factions. If you take this, which I think is quite good.
Yeah, slowing up is a bit of a pain, though, isn't it?
It is. Again, I guess it depends, kind of how much infantry you're taking, I suppose.
Yeah,
and then I think the one I'll touch on, because I think a lot of people have kind of spoken about this. I know a couple of people we've talked to kind of offline have been interested in this one, and that's the Ogryn conscripts.
Yes, let's go and find that. Where is that?
So I have quite a few of the Necromunda Ogryns unbuilt. I was planning to use them in some way for a militia army, and I think this could be the perfect opportunity to do that, rather than trying to find all sorts of expensive Krieg Grenadier units and such things. But this makes a detachment using his provenance, militia brute squad, Ogryn brute squad's troops choices, with those as compulsory troops gaining a line. This, I think, has the capability to be really interesting. Really interesting. However, you can also ignore the certain usual restrictions for joining Ogryn squads with other units.
So you can give them all Medicaid and keep them alive.
Yeah, so Discipline Masters, Militia, Medicaid, Force Commanders, selected with this detachment, ignore the usual restrictions on joining a unit with Monstrous. So you can have your boss with a bunch of Ogryns and a Medicaid just kind of doing what they want, quite unusually. And I just think that's quite funny. I think that's been the theme.
Mix that with Alchem Jackers either, does it?
No, so normally with some of them, it does explicitly state which ones you can't mix.
Like
this
one
one
directly above Tainted Flesh, it says at the bottom there you can't use that in conjunction with Survivors of the Dark Age, Gene-crafted Ogryn conscripts or Alchem Jackers. But this one, you can.
Yeah, nothing about anything that you can't take with it. So you could take the slow and purposeful with Furious Charge, for example. You could take the which would include no negative leadership and pinning instead of running away. Cyber Augmetics, so they get feel no pain. There's a few options that you can take with that. So I think I might look at Ogryn conscripts, but this is way down the line.
Okay, cool.
I think there's a lot of interesting ones here. I mean, you've got the obvious like Unending Horde, Tainted Flesh, the Base Rabble, Human Muster, which would suit those large traitor levy armies.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a few people suggesting they might take the, I think it was on the first page actually, let me scroll back. Legacy of the Great Crusade, so you give all your guys +1 ballistic skill.
I think Warrior Elite and the Legacy of the Great Crusade work really well together.
Yeah, Grenadiers hitting on 3s.
Yeah, well, your Grenadiers are now troops because of Warrior, or compulsory troops because of Warrior Elite. They've got +1 to the leadership, and then you go Legacy of Great Crusade to give them +1 ballistic skill. Yeah.
And it weirdly increases your Force Commander's initiative to 5. In the
that's an odd one.
Space Marine before he dies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Although, there is one, where is it? I noticed, so if you take Armory of Old Knight, that you can actually have a Paragon Blade on your Force Commander as well.
Oh, okay. Where's that? What page is that?
And Archaeotech Pistols. So page 11, Armory of Old Knight. So Relic Arms for the models, and Heirlooms of Past Glory, you can give him an Archaeotech Pistol and a Paragon Blade. So you could have, again,
Initiative 5
that,
Paragon Blade.
Yeah. So again, there's some really interesting combinations that I think people might not necessarily immediately think. I think a lot of people will go straight to Industrial Stronghold with the cheap Lehman Russers.
Yep.
And a couple of the Tainted Flesh ones, Endless Horde. But I think there's some potentially incredibly niche and interesting lists to be had out of that. And it might actually be worth having another one of these sessions, and if we run up example lists each to see how they differ and kind of how that works.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that might be quite cool.
Yeah, in fact, anyone watching, if that's something you'd like to see, then drop us a message down in the comments, and we'll put some stuff together and have another scrub down about it. Why not? Good.
What weird army can you come up with?
Absolutely.
That's exactly the way I would go.
Yeah, we'll go with a narrative view and then see how broken we can make something just for the experiment.
Or something just hilariously bad.
Cool. Okay, right. So let's get on to some units then. There's a few more of those provinces to look through probably, but do that in your own time. Internet. Lots to read. So Imperialis Militia Discipline Master Cadre. A lot of words again.
In your levy units, this is going to be a must. It just boosts that leadership. This is your
execute a couple of you instead, right?
Yeah. It's your post Great Crusade, post scouring. It's pre-scouring, I suppose. Commissar. He's there to keep the unit in the fight. But being leadership 8, he's still a higher leadership than the majority of your units, so...
Yeah, he'll be leadership 9 in my army, mate.
Yeah, he'll keep your units in the fight.
Interesting he's support squad, even though he's an HQ as
well. Yeah, but I think it's one of those where you need the force commander to have the provenances, because otherwise your army kind of lacks a bit of flavour.
Yeah, it's just gonna be
so once you've got your force commander, you can have a couple of these just attached to units.
Okay, so is that instill order then? That's the big one.
Yeah,
the bit that makes me laugh about this unit is these 20 points, and then it goes, this unit may include up to an additional 11 discipline masters.
Yeah, you're going to need it if you've got 400 levies on the table. You're going to need them all.
What do you think?
They use up only a single force org slot.
Yeah.
Which, again, is like that kind of that breakdown of apothecaries. You buy a unit and split them out amongst teams. So again, for victory points, that's going to be quite a good one. You split five or six of these out.
Please kill all 12 of them for 1 victory point. Thank you.
Yep.
I wonder if they'll FAQ that actually, or if they won't.
Yeah. But I think the big thing that you've gone on to about this is the instill order. It's keeping that unit in the fight.
Yeah. So fail a morale check, and then you can choose to have the unit suffer D3 wounds instead.
I mean, if you've got like a 20 or 40 man squad, oh no, I've lost 3 guys. Whatever shall I do?
Inflicted upon independent characters or the discipline master himself. So you can't
or the Medicaid. Oh no, the discipline master has had an accident. Whatever shall we do?
Yeah, I think these are going to be. Well, there's a few things about these. They're going to be pretty essential anyway, aren't they? But also, this is a great opportunity at most of the armies for conversions and sort of units, because you need a lot of cool stuff for this sort of thing.
It doesn't have to be your classic, oh yes, he's in a massive storm coat and he's got a big peak cap. You could have that guy that's in armour still, but he's got a whip because he isn't a commissar. He is the guy that keeps you fighting because you're scared you're going to get lashes.
Yeah. I think I might have a guy walking around with a pistol out turned sideways at the back of everyone's head.
But it gives you that flexibility to play around with it. It doesn't need to be the commissar. It can be anything that you want. It could be that pistol to the side of somebody's head.
Yeah.
Play around with it.
Opportunities with this one. Good. I think the 3D printers are going to be churning out a lot of different stuff. Cool. Okay, and then among the ranks, I think this just says you can assign them to other units, right? Mounted units.
Yeah.
If they've got a mount.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It's a very, very wordy way of going. Yes, you can assign them to units. No, they can't be like this. Yes, they have to be like this. Okay.
Discipline Master gains all the special rules of. Oh, interesting. When assigned to unit, Discipline Master gains all the special rules, and you sometimes listed for that unit to which is attached. Which means if you attach them to units, go infiltrate. You get infiltrate, right?
Oh, even if you kill all 12, you don't get a victory point.
Amazing. Cool.
So yeah, an essential to include with not a lot of downsides given the price.
Yeah. You might lose a few pods, but your units won't be running great.
And all mine are going to be mounted. Even better.
Oh,
Yep. Just hitting people with their drinks, canteens and stuff as they go past. Cool, right. Rogue Psyker. I was excited about this, and then I was less excited about it once I started reading the rules.
yeah.
It's kind of a bit of a nothing, isn't it?
It restricts you. As soon as you take a rogue psychic, you have to be traitor.
Yeah.
So there's no. I mean, it's 30k. It's not 40k. There are no Primaris psychers. There are no embedded psychers in your military units. It's not there yet.
I think the only reason. Go on. Sorry, Luke.
No, it's okay. It makes sense from the fluff. Imperialis Auxilia did not have psychers. They aren't the guard or the Astra Militarum of the 41st millennium. They don't have battle psychers. That's left to the Astartes because the human mind is not ready for this.
I think the only reason the only thing I could find to include him in my army was to represent some like foaming at the mouth, mushroom-eating lunatic in a tent somewhere that's summoning demons. I don't really know what else to do with him. I think I could put him in there and summon some bound demons if I'm lucky. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm sure we'll go on to it later, but he has just limited access for powers and stuff, doesn't he? So he's just he's only 50 points. It's not get too excited.
I think it's definitely a missed opportunity.
He's rolling for psychic powers, and he's only leadership 7.
Yeah. I think there was a chance to have a rogue psyker type, and then like some almost like provinces within this unit to make him different. To turn him into like a Davenite priest or something like that. It was definitely stuff they could have done. I think they would have made it more interesting. Because he's a bit pants, I think. If anyone watching this disagrees, please hammer me in the comments and tell me why I'm wrong and that he's amazing. I don't think he is, so I'm going to skip on. Well, there's some rules. Yay. Do you want to read the Psycho rules? Oh, I don't know. What's he got? Void darts. Yeah, Assault 12.
Yeah.
AP 4.
Again,
D flag. Okay. So he's got
it's
charger.
Yeah.
If he passes his leadership check.
If he passes his leadership check, there it is. But again, it's got that Assault 12 Sanctic. When is your Rogue Psyker going to be firing mind darts at demons? He's a traitor. He wants to summon demons, not fire mind darts at them.
Yeah. That's my demons and murder him.
Yeah. Malal says die.
Yeah, okay, so he can he can bring up war brisk and stuff. Yeah, so in fact, I was joking a minute ago about summoning demons is the only use he's got for him, but that's kind of where they've gone, isn't it? That's what he's for. But,
yeah.
I don't think he's going to be very good at it, and maybe he should be very good at it because I said he's a foaming mushroom-eating weirdo in a shed, so whatever.
I think it might be one of those things that we need to try to really see how effective it is, and we had that with a lot of other stuff. But yeah, off the top of it, I think restricting it straight away to a traitor and basically making him a kind of weird D-flag shooting attack with low leadership and a summoner of warp rifts is it's really niche. I mean, it's 50 points.
Yeah, it is, and it's the only way that this army can ally in demons currently, right? So I suspect that's written in.
And it comes with a rogue psycho warden, militia warden, who basically looks like he's there to die. But
is that to pass off perils to or something?
Potentially, yeah.
I don't know if people would be able to... Can you pass perils onto a non-psycho though? Because
I've
warden is the unit now. So we face this a little bit. It's kind of irrelevant for this review, but you can pass those wounds onto the unit that you're associated with.
And you can take up to 9 militia wardens, so you could.
That's so cheesy.
Yeah. Someone's definitely going to do it.
I mean, there's summoning you don't have to pass the test. You can ignore the test and it scatters, which is fine. But then, if it scatters onto a unit or impassable terrain, you're suffering perils. Winner. Just what you want. I think it's an interesting unit, but again, it's not certain. It's a bit random. It could be fun, but at the same time, if you're kind of using it as a crutch, it's not very reliable.
No, he's you take him just to bring Samus on the board, and commander.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so militia command card. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this particular one. It's
I think this is like with a lot of the usual stuff. The command card of the infantry. I don't think there's a huge amount changed.
You can make them up to 20 characters. You can make them up to 20 models in the unit now, which is interesting. You can't give them any particularly heavy weapons, and only one of them can take a special weapon. But they can all take bolt, las, stubble.
20.
Yeah. One militia bodyguard in the squad may exchange their las gun for one of the following, which is a bit different from before, where you could take 3 or 4 special weapons in your command squad and almost have them as like a special weapons team.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's been nubbed.
Interesting that the carapace armor upgrade is 20 points for the entire squad, whether it's 5 or 20.
Well, it's that thing.
Yeah, I think
4
there's
points a model if they're 5, or 1 point a model if they're 20.
Yeah.
I think there's some clarification needed here because, like you said, you kind of implied there, Neil. One militia bodyguard in the squad. So actually, you can have 1 grenade launcher whether you're 5 guys, or 1 whether you're 20. The same as if carapace armor is 20 points whether you're 5 guys or 20 guys. So it's either a mistake in wording, or it's trying to push you to go for that larger squad.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was deliberate to make you try and buy more.
Yeah. The only thing that's a little bit different in this squad is the militia standard, which gives the unit stubborn rather than +1 to their combat res. Or it might still give you the +1 combat res, but it's actually gives you stubborn, unlike the Legion Vexillers, which are fearless bubbles.
No, they're not anymore.
No,
they're not anymore. Is it just the Herald that's the fearless then?
Yeah, I think the Herald is as a Legion standard maybe. Legion Vexella's not. That's just.
So the Legion standard gives line to the unit it's in, and I think +1 leadership or something.
That's why people who put Heralds in Death Shroud cough, Max, and units like that are horrible human beings. you're not really Max, but Christ.
Make better life choices.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So command squad up to 20 guys. We move along because it's not very interesting. Cool. Imperialis Militia Infantry Squad. Cool. 20 guys. Lasgun auto rifles. Special strength in numbers. What does that do, Luke?
This is the one where you can have 3. It's like the Tertio rule for Solar Auxilia.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So you can have 3 squads and they only take. Yeah.
Okay.
And then when they deploy the cannon, slightly different to the Tertio, once they deploy the cannon, it's 3 different units.
Okay.
So they could be 3 different victory points, unlike the Solar, where the Tertio is a 1er.
Yeah, so it's just a way of you getting the lots in the Force Org and then deploy separately, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're lying again, so these guys are scoring.
Yeah. And there's that lovely human leadership of 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Which is why your discipline masters are very much needed.
Yeah, which would be 6 and 7 in my army, yay! But I don't have any infantry in my army; they're all grenadiers, so I don't care about these mooks.
I mean, for 80 points, you've got 20 guys.
Yeah. You can see how people are going to have swarms and swarms of these.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. I'd actually enjoy a game against an endless horde of human meat shields run towards them. It'd be great if it's not.
It'll be interesting because they're low leadership, but they're only 5+ saves. You can't give them carapace armor, so your normal tactical squad is going to be mowing these guys down with bolt guns.
Yeah, well, so they should, to be honest.
Yeah.
80 points, 20 guys, rapid fire. You go okay, yeah. So you'd probably be one tactical squad should delete these with basically no trouble whether they run or kill them all.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, 80 points, pretty good for what it is.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the levies then, 40 points for 20 people.
Yeah, these are
half as good.
Well, they don't get half the upgrades. Let's put it that way.
Also, they never count as victory points.
What, when they're killed?
Yeah, it's one of those special rules.
Oh, yeah,
Expendable.
expendable. Okay, never gains victory points.
Never gains a victory point.
They're basic. You look at their war kit: lasgun or auto rifle and flak armor. It's an upgrade to take any grenade. They don't even get access to crack grenades.
Now they're probably blowing themselves up, idiots.
They're to display the basic guys that you just use to fill up the gaps in the army, aren't they?
Yeah. This is that 40-point squad that you add 150% value to by adding 20-point discipline master, and now you've got a leadership 8 unit that can sit on an objective.
Also, you can include up to 30 additional levies for 2 points each, a 50 levy squad.
Well, you say sit on an objective, but they're not lying, are they?
No, it would basically just stop anyone getting to the objective.
Yeah, you would bubble wrap your objectives with these, sorry.
Yeah, and you can, not quite tarp it, but you could definitely slow armies down with loads of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Look at a dreadnought. Even with brutal.
Oh, yeah.
It would take you 3 or 4 turns to get through all of these.
I mean, Rick's Provenance choice, Alchem Jackers. Yeah. Give Alchem Jackers to a levy squad and you put them in combat. Oh, you've killed 5 guys. That's nice. Still leadership 8 because of discipline master. I think no negatives from assault phase.
So here's a question then: if they were in combat, let's say 20 levies in combat with a Contempt Dreadnought mashes them, they fail leadership check to run out of combat. Does discipline master say no, thank you, and they just stay there? Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and read his rules. 2 secs.
Because if that's true, these guys would be brilliant at slowing down dreadnoughts, which
also the provenance that says every time you take a leadership test, you pinned instead, so you'd be easy to kill.
Yeah, that'd be mega as well.
So yeah, you think a couple of tar pits of these, 2 squads of 50 just sat at the front. That's 100 guys to chew through just in 2 squads of levies.
Yeah, I have to say I quite like the idea, but I don't like the idea of painting them all. That'd
be awful. Yeah. I'd hate myself for that.
I'd have to outsource.
Oh my god. Even 3 squads of them at 50 a turn. God, that's 150 models to paint. That is definitely pre-shade and then contrast and chill.
Yeah, even then, mate, that's still a lot.
Yeah.
To do. I think it would. Like I said, I'd love to do it for a battle report for the channel or similar. But I think for being an event, if you're up against someone at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of militia, it would actually be a really, really boring game, and it would eat into the time slot a lot. Yeah. I don't think it'd be fun to do at an event, but it'd be great to do outside an event for sure.
I think it'd be a fun sponge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So situational, but
cool. All right. So here we go. The good stuff. Grenadiers.
Interesting. Lovely unit.
75 points for 10 guys now. So this is are these twice as good, Luke? That's the basic militia guys.
Well, I think they're that slightly better guy than your levy. They've obviously received a bit of training. They've got that better gear.
Oh, I'll tell you what, this is the question we had earlier on, because they have line baked in. So when you move them to the support squad to the troop slot, then you've got line troops, grenadiers with that provenance on support units, so they can be compulsories. So that's good.
Yeah. I love these. I love the Grenadiers. I think they're a great unit. I mean, they've got that +1 leadership straight away. They're wearing carapace armor, so your bolt comes out and just murdering them. They get a save. They can have 2 special weapons instead of 1. Yeah. The only difference from first... Yeah, I like them. They're your Space Marine veteran equivalents within the militia.
And they can take a Vexilla and a Vox.
Mm-hmm. And the Sergeant can take some special weapons as well, which is nice.
I think 15 points for a Power Fist when it only makes him Strength 6 is steep.
Not worth it, yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is, like, the provenance change from 1st edition to 2nd. These guys can no longer take power armor, which I don't... The Grenadiers, they're not supposed to be in power armor.
No. Can they... hang on, I didn't even see that. What's the... they can take sniper rifles, 2 Grenadiers.
Sniper rifles or long last, which are different in this, but we'll get to that when we get to the equipment.
Yeah. If it gets to equipment, I might fall asleep. We'll do our best to zip through. Okay, so Grenadiers, awesome, fun. Militia fire. These are heavy weapon teams, right?
Yes, these are the heavy weapon teams.
Okay.
Bulky 3, but only 2 wounds. Interesting.
Also, they're essentially artillery now with them placed. Like they can't.
Yeah.
If they fall back, they're removed as
Get
casualties.
destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So they're immobile without being immobile, if that makes sense.
And they
But you can have
return
8.
fire or they can. Okay, they can return fire, Overwatch, and intercept. So that's fine.
I know. You can have 10 as one
Choice.
4 soak slot.
Not heavy support, not elite, not fast attack. It's a troops choice now.
So
they're just a support squad.
Yeah. Okay. The bonus is that they are troops, and like you say, you can have 200 points for 10 fire teams with your weapon upgrade on top. If you assume you don't want heavy support, which you probably don't.
Yeah.
So still, I tell you what, 300 points for 10 autocannon teams would be no joke.
No. In a troop slot.
The ballistic skill 3, it's not great.
I tell you what, League, I'd take them with missile launches because frag missiles pinning.
Oh, yeah.
10 frag templates, even with
mate,
skill 3, loads of stuff on them.
I wouldn't even say that you need to take the missile launchers for 10 points. The mortars have pinning. And they're a 5-point upgrade.
Yeah, but they don't have crack missiles.
Yeah, it is a choice, isn't it?
It is a choice, yeah. Be interesting, actually, to...
I love the idea of 10 mortars firing off every turn.
I mean, it's like you could discuss this all day. I like them with heavy bolters. The multi-lasers are good, strength 6, AP 6, 3 shots. But now heavy bolters is 4 shots each. If you just want to be throwing down rounds down range to try and cause...
Fire.
Yeah.
What range is a multi-laser?
It's either 36 or 48.
Heavy bolt is 36, right? So...
Yeah, I think there's not much in it for range. It's just the AP is slightly worse, but the strength is slightly better on the multi-laser. And it's got 1 less shot now.
Multi-laser would probably be... Would it be better at dealing with mech? I guess you'd be winning on 4s for Castellax now, not 5s.
Yeah.
But again,
strength,
it's very situational. It's only if you're playing mech.
Strength and AP of 6, but if you're at least causing a wound, it's causing a save, so... Yeah.
Yeah, I think 10 lascannon teams there is for the birds at that points value. I think that would
just
all get murdered.
Especially when you're hitting on 4s.
Yeah, you lose the roll off, so you just bang, and they're all dead.
Oh, they're all running at leadership 6.
Well, did they even run? They just get destroyed, don't they, if they fail leadership?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yuck. Yeah, okay, disappointing. Let's move on. What's next? Oh, of course, we've got a recon squad, haven't we? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's your sniper. It is your snipers.
Well, they come with shotguns standard, so you've got to pay for your snipers.
Yeah.
10 points per model.
Yeah, it makes
it
doubles the cost.
I don't know if it's worth it when they're only ballistic skill 3.
No, and I don't. Well, as you said, we'll get to long lesson in a minute, so I'm not going to ask. But yeah, sniper rifles, so you got a 50-50 chance of a hit. Yeah, I don't know. Because there's Space Marine recon squads. I mean, I know Nemesis bolters you got to pay for on top, but I mean,
yeah,
loads of points, aren't they?
They start at like 130, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
And they're just better overall.
I don't imagine I'm going to put any of these guys in my militia on. I've got to be honest.
I mean, they don't even have Camellia line, so they don't have a massive cover save.
No.
Yeah, infiltrate, move through cover.
Hellishly low leadership as well.
Yeah.
I love that scout sergeant maybe give melter bombs. Yeah, as if he's ever going to get close to anything.
Yeah, that is a waste of 10 points.
You could, if they could all take melter bombs, you could run them as the scout squads in first edition, where you would either have them shotguns and melter bombs or sniper rifles, because you want them either far back or close forward to get in close. But if you're only going to give melter bombs to a sergeant and it's 10 points, you're 50-50 if you're going to plant the melter bomb, and that's if you either get into range to do it.
Yeah. I'll file these with the fire teams as meh. Okay. Okay. One of Luke's favourites, probably.
The Medicaid. Slightly different again. They're no longer as good as the apothecaries, same as the solar auxiliary medics. They're now a 6+ feel no pain rather than a 5+.
Okay.
You get 3 for 40 points.
Decent. That's a one. The Space Marine one's 40 or 45, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they're fairly decent. I mean, if you're running a unit that only has 5+ armor and it's getting pinged off by bolt guns, they're worth chucking in just to be able to see if you get any 6s and save a guy.
I think this is like the Discipline Master. I think it's essentially an auto include.
Yeah, for 13 points a unit, just over, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
Cheaper than a Power Fist, and might keep a few guys alive.
It gives you
12 before.
No, you could only take a few. I can't remember off the top of my head. You know how the units change slightly.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't 12. It wasn't double figures because that would stand out. Because yeah,
It's interesting now that they've specified you can put more than one in one unit, but it doesn't stack.
Oh, can you?
I wouldn't have said it would have stacked before. That just seems a bit gamey. But having more than one in a unit is helpful for facing those Nemesis bolters and sniper rifles.
I think that's the point, though, in the sense that they're listening to at least some of the complaints where it didn't say you could or couldn't. And in some circles, that is essentially a license for some people to go, I'm going to, because it doesn't say I can't. Yeah. Now it explicitly says you can put 3 guys in the same squad, but it's still 6+.
I mean, we've had this discussion previously outside of this. Just because something's not there doesn't mean it doesn't. It should be doable. It's applying common sense to a game of toy soldiers.
I think a lot of people who read these books need to know what burden of proof means.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a game you play with people or your friends because you want to be sociable. If you're there to win,
or alienate friends by making rules. Yeah. So militia, I think Medicaid. Sorry, I think I'll probably include a couple. I started converting some of these from Krieg and the Necromunda Rogue Docs.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's sustainable for 12. maybe two or three, but not 12.
Could you add one of these guys to the fire teams to keep them alive?
Yeah.
I don't think it actually. It doesn't say you can and can't.
Only units with an infantry unit type and militia subunit type.
Unless you take the Ogryn conscripts, and then you can add it to them as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes
you could add it
even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they've got their place in the army, and they add that survivability to your unit. Don't know if they're not as much of an auto include for me as the Discipline Master.
I think they would be for me.
Yeah, I think
if you're infantry, yeah. Sorry, but
if you're Rick, you're going to say if they're infantry heavy, they're needed.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if you have any more than 30 infantry, 40 points to throw Medicaid in one in each squad is absolutely worth it.
Okay, so these guys can't be mounted, can they?
It doesn't say they can. No.
What did he say?
It doesn't say they can. No, so I would assume that's a no.
So yeah,
I think that the first paragraph for me sums up. It has to be infantry and it has to be militia. So your mounted units are cavalry. So straight away they can't join them.
Yeah, there's no cavalry up here or anything. That's a shame.
No.
Cool. All right. Okay. So Medicaid pretty much an auto include for me, Rick. And you're kind of on the fence, Luke.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Ogryn Brutes. Everyone loves an Ogryn, right?
Yes. Now, if you look at this, and this is actually a fairly impressive stat line. Yeah, you're paying 33 points per brute, but you're getting weapon skill 4.
Yeah, that's
ballistic skill 2, strength 5, toughness 5, 3 wounds. Initiative, I don't think it's a problem because you're probably going to give him a thunder hammer or a power weapon.
Oh yeah, I forgot they can take a thunder. But only the boss can take a thunder hammer.
Boss can. The rest of them can have a combat weapon, but you're still hitting, sort of strength 5. They can all have boarding shields, so again, gives them that bit of extra survivability. Hammer of Wrath, stubborn, so you can't negatively affect their leadership.
No, low leadership though.
Again,
monstrous. I think I'll need to check up on the rules of what monstrous actually does in this edition. Because obviously, monstrous last edition, it had special rules other than just negatives.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm quite excited about this.
I mean, it's the same as the Levy squads for me. It says you can upgrade their armor from flak to carapace for 25 points. It doesn't say if you add any more units that the cost goes up or down. It's not per unit, it's just flat for the unit, which is amazing. The only issue is being toughness 5, they're going to draw fire from something like a heavy bolter and just negate your armor save.
Yeah, you would and you'd absolutely pepper these guys with Volkite too.
Oh yeah.
For the same reason, because they disintegrate. But they are, strength 5 top. They're going to be no joking assault, aren't they? Quite right, especially with the Thunderhammer on Sergeant.
I think these guys are going to be quite cheeky, especially if you take them, because obviously they're elites. But if you take their Provenance, they're troops.
Yeah.
And line troops at that.
It's and they move really 7 as quick as a Space Marine.
And you can have 10 per squad. Yeah, it's expensive, but 30 of these running at you with a Medicaid, it's going to be quite intimidating, I think.
Any additional basic close combat weapon? Presumably you couldn't do that if you took a boarding shield, though.
No, I don't think so.
Well, they've already got a basic close combat weapon. Additional one would give them that extra attack on the charge. They'd go from 4 to 5 to... So that would put your basic ogre in as 6 attacks on the charge.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking, but you wouldn't be able to use a boarding shield as well, would you? Because you'd lose... But yeah, 6 attacks on the charge would be mega. Especially if you have a thing that gives them, whatever it was, Furious Charge.
Oh, they get Hammer of Wrath, and yeah, potentially Furious Charge. So, potentially, again, quite hard hitting, and also means you can run an infantry list with not huge volumes of infantry.
Yeah. I mean, the weapon options for the boss don't really make a lot of sense to me. The ballistic skill too, so why would you want them to have an autocannon or a heavy bolter?
Yeah,
I think with the weapon skill 4, you're hitting Marines on, equal. So you've got to go for a power weapon or a Thunderhammer, really.
Yeah, I think so.
You want to be in the face, hitting things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're quite good. I think you're right, Luke. I think the mid-strength weapons are going to be these guys down for, aren't they? It's going to be your cold cannons, your auto cannons, and heavy bolters.
Auto cannons, heavy bolters, Volkite.
Because you wouldn't want to waste firing a las cannon at them because it's going to shrug it off. It would take the wounds, right? But it's toughness 5, so it's not going to kill him.
No. Not when they've got 3 wounds each as well. I think the worst weapon that a militia army are going to see isn't your high strength, isn't your large blast. It's going to be Volkite, because that deflagrate is just going to keep popping.
Yeah,
Volkite's everywhere this edition.
Yeah.
Like the good old days when I used to shoot Sean's Space Marines with the glaive. Good times, Sean. Good times. Yeah, not anymore. The glaive's not as good.
No.
And I sold it. Cool. Okay, so yeah, we like Ogrins. What's next? Imperialis Militia Field Gun Battery.
So I think these would be the new
ones
and placement weapons that they've just brought out with a new Cadian range.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. They did say they were waiting for the Cadian range, didn't they, before they released this?
So it's elite, not heavy, because these kind of things in the last edition took up a heavy slot.
Yep.
And you get a Thunderblast cannon, a mortar, or a heavy las cannon.
I find this unit interesting that it's not an artillery unit and that it uses the field gun stat line. So you don't have a weapon and a gun team or a set of gunners. It's just this is your stat line.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think actually clears up that whole, because in the last edition there was always, if you didn't use a lot of artillery, it was always like, well, there's a partial stat line for the gun. Do I dictate wounds against the gun or the infantry? Like, it was always a bit confusing. And I think this clears that up.
This is different from like the rapier or rapier stuff that they would do in the first edition, where you would have a gunner at the front, you rapier, and then another gunner at the back. You got your meat shield at the front. As soon as he dies, you're going on to the stat line of the gun, and he goes from toughness 4 to toughness 7. It's a bit more difficult to wound.
I think that also kind of, this is an elite slot, and they're 45 points if you don't upgrade them. But these are squishy. These are really squishy.
You
Toughness
can sort of
4.
medicate these though, right?
Yeah.
As infantry.
Yep, they are infantry.
But it's not going to be difficult to wound them. Toughness 4, 3 wounds.
I mean, again,
save.
bolt guns are going to be the bane of their lives. I mean, or a Volkite weapon, Jesus.
They are.
Yeah.
But this is where you definitely put a Medicaid in this unit because the chance that
you can have
those wounds back.
Yeah, and you can take 6 in one unit. So again, potential for a lot of these if you use all your elite slots in field guns. So you kind of mix in heavy fire or fire support with bulk of wounds, but
Also,
yeah, it's a lot of.
The weapon choices are interesting and slightly different. I mean, the heavy las cannon, it's a strength 10 AP2, but it's only one shot.
Well, yeah,
But then, do you want something that's hitting on force to be firing direct fire weapons? They're a bit.
Interesting that it's in place and not artillery, so it can react because the rapiers can react. So
I mean, I quite like the mortar, the Calliope mortar option. It's a large blast, it's pinning, it's barrage, and it has shell shock 1 on it.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
6 of those out per squad.
Yeah, they'd be.
You're a bad man. Or woman.
What does the basic Thunder Blast cannon do then? I bet it's not as good as it sounds.
It's not.
No, wet thunder cannon.
Well, like I said, the mortar is an upgrade because it is decent. The Thunder Blast cannon is 3-inch blast, barrage, pinning, strength 7 AP4.
What strength is the Calliope mortar?
Strength 5 AP5, large blast 5, pinning, barrage, shell shock 1.
Yeah.
I like they're both pinning, but it's the fact that the mortar is a large blast and how rare are a large blast now.
And a shell shock as well. So
Yeah.
check. It's good. Okay, cool. All right, so moving on to our first fast attack then. The Alvas.
I think we just need to be quick with this one because it's a sore subject for a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cry on camera.
No, it's the same as the solar. Like you say, it's essentially the same as the solar one. It's got no weapons. It's a cheeky little transport.
Yeah, it's
great.
It's a 40-point transport with a 12 capacity, no weapons, 1 access point, deep strike, so it can pin when it comes in. But it's third line, like it needed third line. 11, 10. You're probably not going to struggle to penetrate it anyway.
Yeah,
it's got a ballistic skill.
But
it's got a ballistic skill, but no weapons to make that matter. Yeah, it's just I think a lot of people are upset, and I hope the FAQ will fix the poor harvest.
Okay,
we're
we're moving on from you. Okay, the surprising.
These are interesting. Yeah.
The Militia Cargo Weight Horus Heresy. Now, I've already bought one of these because for no other reason than I really like the model, and I've never been able to use it because I don't play Necromunda. I'm never going to play Necromunda because it just doesn't interest me. But I really want the model, and now I can use it in Heresy, so I'm pumped. Am I alone in this? Do you guys think it's cack and shouldn't be here, or not bothered?
It's not something I'm going to use, but I love the idea of it. I mean, there's already conversions out there where they've bought the cargo weight and they're putting like a structured cage on the back to have like the netting on it, so it actually looks like a modern truck.
Yeah.
I think it's fluffy.
That's the thing. It feels very much like a fluffy way to travel to get squishy infantry blokes who don't mean a lot to anyone from point A to point B. It feels very much like being back in the army. Getting this thing that's actually pretty rubbish and is going to fall over, but it's going to get you from A to B unless nothing's adversely impacts it on the way. 22 transport capacity, so it's pretty sturdy.
Yep.
Well, not sturdy when you look at the fact that it's got 3 hull points. Its third line and its armor's pretty rubbish. But I agree, Neil. I think you could make some
quite
you could make some quite interesting looking kind of armored column lists with this. You know,
my only gripe with this unit is that it's 50 points, and a Rhino's 35 points, and this thing is not as good because it's third line. The armor value front is almost irrelevant. It's ballistic skill 3. It moves slower. It's got the same hull points, and it's more expensive. And if you upgrade it to have better armor, then it becomes the same transport capacity as the Rhino, but it would still be third line. So I suppose that's my only gripe. And I think because you can add additional ones at 40 points per model, I think this should be 40 points. I don't know why it's 50 points. It's not.
Yeah, again, it's like the levies where they're a certain point, but then each one is half the price extra. It's incentivizing you to include more, and if I'm being cynical, buy more.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and I probably will. It's going to work on me because I think they're great, and I want them in my list. So, yeah, no stress. Yeah, it was a surprise, but I'm keen. I want more.
It's nice that they're pulling the wider GW range in, because, like you say, if you didn't play Necro, you were never going to see this in a game.
No, and that's like you say, cynical hat on. That's probably exactly why it's in this list because they weren't selling any. Because how often do you use it in Necromunda? Probably not that often. It's going to be point niche anyway, and it's a shame because it is a wicked model. Cool. Okay, so moving on from that to here we go. Cavalry. Go, Rick.
So, cavalry. Now, I think I'm excited about this, but from a different reason. Some of the other guys in the community who have been looking at this, and that's because I had a mad idea in first edition of how I wanted cavalry coming streaming out of a super heavy transport. Because again, I thought it was mad, but also really cool and intimidating looking. A squishy squad with a squishy commander. He's playing Flight of the Valkyries as he comes charging towards an army that's probably going to annihilate him. But I think this is going to be quite cool. My only gripe is that with a Krieg heavy militia force, the Krieg Outriders are very stationary. And I think this is something that you'd want to model with a bit of movement.
Yeah.
Obviously from a model perspective versus,
I'm the expensive.
Yeah, and I'm the converting guy. I like making things a little bit different to how they come in the box. So a little bit of hot water might help, but yeah. I think this is really good. I think the options are quite good. They're quite cheap across the board, 10 points a model, 14-inch movement. They're pretty squishy.
They are fast, though. Which you'd expect, obviously. But yeah, they are really fast.
But they're light. They're cavalry. Yeah, cavalry has scout. They're light. Hammer of Wrath, scout, relentless. Yeah, I think if you put a bunch of the lancers on them, the melter lancers or whatever, these could be pretty cheeky. You scout in, melt a lance, side rear armor of some stuff, and just sort of sweep round. It'll be distracting for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot to like in it. They are good. It's suffering the same 5-up save though, so heavy bolters and Volkite's going to murder them.
Yep. I think if you put if I did this, I'd probably use my mounted force commander as well, so there'd be a little bit of sturdiness in there.
Yep.
But yeah, I think this could be really cool to look at, but play-wise, I think might still struggle a little bit in terms of, like, say, if someone cons on and goes, I've got twin auto cannons or a Kratos Volkite Kratos, and just go, dead.
Yeah, a couple of heavy bolter rapiers would murder this entire unit.
Yeah, I mean, you can have 15 of them in a squad, which is pretty good.
Yeah, they'd all die.
Yeah, but they'd all be gone.
Do you think that they should have, as cavalry, they should either have the bonus toughness or an extra wound, maybe?
I think so, and this is something that came up at your last event, was bikes. Like, I faced Mac's really nice DA bike army, but being on a bike, apart from movement, doesn't really give you a lot in this edition. It always used to be like apart from movement, there's no extra bonus. Whereas in the last edition, it was you either got an extra wound or an extra toughness or an extra save in Jetbike's case. Not extra save, but a better save. And I think, yeah, it is a little bit, or at least there should be some sort of jink equivalent. You're charging across the board 14 inches a turn.
Yep.
there should be some sort of fast-moving object type damage mitigation save, I think.
Yeah, that maybe like a baked-in 6-up shroud because they're so fast.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think that,
They get
to be honest,
everything run,
that would mitigate a lot of stuff.
You guys charge your cavalry at me, and we'll recreate the Charger Light Brigade. See how well that goes. I like this unit. I mean, I like this unit for the modelling potential because you have got those lovely Krieg mounted riders, but you've got the new militia cavalrymen. You've got the classic Attilan riders, and you've got the motorbikes from the Gene Stealers as well.
Yeah, I was looking at
so you've got the options to do quite a lot with this unit.
And as I said, I'm going to be using the Hellamite dust bug things from Necromunda as well. That's giveaway for these. Yeah, there's lots of good modelling options, and I think they're going to be a very popular unit at 50 points. Cool. Okay, so moving on. Oh yes, the Beastmasters. So I was having a chat with my partner in crime, Reese, friend of the channel, Reese, Patrician Gaming, second half. We were talking about the types of war beasts for the militia handlers here, and we had a disagreement. He says a raptor means dinosaur, and I said it means bird of prey in this instance. What do you think it means?
I think I really like the idea that that's entirely up for interpretation.
Yeah.
And I think this, I mean, to be honest, we've been on this call a little bit longer than I think we expected already, and I think we could probably spend as much time as that going into the Beastmasters unit, because I think this just opens up so many opportunities from a modelling and play perspective. Someone said jokingly, I think in our chat the other day, how to use an Arvus in a hilarious way. Stick a Beastmaster and a bunch of Cayman in there and then just sort of dump it out all over everyone.
I think that was better, wasn't it? Just,
Here is your delivery. Here is your delivery of crocodiles. Enjoy.
Oh, he's going to be sorely disappointed when his Arvus comes on and someone already scanners it out of the sky with las cannons.
Yeah.
Crocodiles all toast in the air. But yes,
I mean,
there's a way to do it. That will be funny.
Yeah. Like your question, for me, Raptor, the first thing I went to was Velociraptor rather than Bird of Prey.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking Bird of Prey because I thought calling it Raptor was a bit too on the nose, and also they've already got another reptile with the Cayman anyway. But because that's baked in Shrouded 4+, that's said flying to me. And it's Fleet 1 as well, so it's still pretty quick. But, like I said, it's open to interpretation, so if people want, War Beast Velociraptors, I'm not going to stop them. It's great. No. Carry on. And if people want loads of crazy Gundabad Warbats converted up or something as birds of prey, then I'm all for that as well. Cool. Right, okay, yeah, we are a bit short on time, so let's not spend too long on Beastmasters. I can see why people want these thematically for their armies. I'm not going to do any myself because I just don't want to. But yeah, you said the modelling potential stuff for these guys is cool. I think it's fair to say. One thing I will say, another discussion we were having is the militia handler moves 6, and all these things move more than 6 broadly. So are they all trapped just walking at 6 with the militia guy? Otherwise,
you've got to keep them in. You've got to keep them in coherency, haven't you? So unfortunately, yeah,
that seems a bit bizarre. So Reese was saying that he would just, eventually have like almost a conga line, but by that time you'd be across the board anyway, and that's probably true. But you can't really move your Raptor 8 and then run it 5 when the other guy can only move whatever it is 9.
I mean, they are. I think they're light and skirmish, so you do have the wide.
3 inch. Yeah.
Coherence, but.
Anyway,
interesting unit, but needs a lot more exploring, I think.
Yeah. Something for someone else to work out. Cool. So Sentinels. Okay, so we talked about the at the beginning. We've done that. They're also skirmish, which is good. Extra coherency. Movement 7, toughness 6, 3 wounds.
3 wounds.
Strength 5. So kind of armature sort of level here.
The thing that strikes me with this is there's no hunter-killer missiles, there's no close combat, there's no stomps, there's no way to have it do any attacks. It just does one base attack at strength 5, weapon skill 3. Don't get them in combat because they will not get back out.
No, and when they run, they're going to
Yeah.
Yeah, losing these guys in combat or any kind of leadership check is what scares me most, I think, with these cylinders. But I think mine are all going to be running with autocannons because it's a free upgrade.
Yeah.
And double shots and rending on the 6 and stuff is pretty potent, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of these with autocannons. I don't think we'll see many las or multi because of the costing points for their upgrades.
Yeah, although they have got scout on these. You use scout 7 and multi-melt someone's prize tank, they're going to be really sad.
Yeah,
ballistic skill though, isn't it?
Yeah, you're hitting on 4s.
I'm going to jump off, guys. So I'll leave you to review the rest of this.
Yeah, please. So if we move on from Sentinels, the good units, I don't know if I love them as much as I did in the first edition. They're a little bit one-dimensional.
Yeah. Okay, let me just scroll down. Okay, I know you've just been painting one of these, so I'm going to let you talk about Thunderbolt for a second while I manage the fact that Rick has vanished.
Slightly different, the Solar Auxilio one. Again, third line, deep strike. It has got the same centre-mounted autocannons and last cannons, but the upgrades are slightly different. Instead of Sky Strike and Hell Strike, you've got the hull-mounted heavy frag and heavy crack. I don't know if they're worth 15 points, considering how quickly flyers tend to come on and off the board these days.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's not a bad choice. I don't know if there's better fast attack options out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that third line again, isn't it? So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm kind of, on the fence, I guess, with this.
I'll let you know how mine does at Heresy Boyfriends, and if
yeah, please do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be. It's one of those. The solar one's only 135 points. It's interesting. It comes on. It's got a lot of firepower. It's going to be if somebody has an answer to it, or if they just go, "You've got a flyer, die."
Yeah, definitely. I missed those kinetic piercer missiles at this time. They were really cool. 120 points. 120 points isn't too bad, is it? It's kind of.
It's not, but I think you've got other options in fast attack. You've got your cavalry units. You've got your weapons. You've got your Beastmasters. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on because the fact that Rick's vanished tells me that we're probably late. Yeah. Okay, so the rapier battery. Now I'll be honest, I was surprised these were here because we have all those other things, heavy weapon teams, and everything else. I wouldn't have thought we needed rapiers as well, but we have them. So, what do you think of the rapiers?
I think it fulfills that heavy weapon slot, but gives you it in the heavy support.
Yeah.
Again, it's that thing of they're only ballistic skill 3, but you do have that option of you can have your quad launch, you can have your laser destroyers, you can have your big grav carriers. I like the multi-laser battery. I think it fulfills a good role with your infantry levies.
Yeah.
You can move up, and you're going to get quite a lot of high strength, high AP shots just going down, just to give you a little bit more oomph. Again, it's a heavy support slot, so it's going to be fighting for its position.
Yeah,
is it going to be worth taking over other things?
I'm not too bothered about rapier batteries. I sound a bit like a moaning grognard now. I keep saying, I don't care about this unit, I don't care about that unit. But I don't. I've got rapier batteries in Legion lists.
Other armies.
I don't really think I'm going to look at them for this.
30 points. It's not horrendous. You get three gunners instead of 2. Slightly different.
So moving on to the Militia Malkador heavy tank then. So 185 points, which on the face of it I thought, oh goodness, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah,
that's decent.
quite cheap. But then you see it, the
third line,
upgrades.
But yeah, it's still got all the weapon options, I think, hasn't it? Gravis, las cannon, sponsons. So to me, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you've played a lot more of these sort of human armies than I have, but if you take third line out of the equation for a second, it seems pretty good.
Yeah, they're not bad. Their armor's fairly decent, 13, 13, 12, 5 hull points. It's that third line that gets it, but then it's got reinforced as well, so kind of balances itself out. I like Malcadors. I think they're a great model. I don't think you'll see many with the standard battle cannon. I think you'll see a lot with the Vanquisher, just because it's so much better.
Yeah, I think I put one of these in my list actually that I'm going to work on, and I think I've gone all las cannon, so it's turrets and spawns and las cannons. I know they're only 10 and 4s, but Gravis las cannon, actually, I'm not sure.
Is that twin links?
I'm not sure it is now.
Yeah.
I think it just might be.
No, it's 2 shots. It's 2 shots rather than one. Yeah.
Okay, pseudo twin links. One was probably going to hit.
I mean, at least they've done what they haven't done in the Solar Auxilia stuff, and they've gone, hey, it's 1 mounted Gravis las cannon, not 2.
Yeah.
Well done, GW. You know your own rules and you know your own equipment.
Well, I think with a las cannon each side and a Gravis las cannon, I've got 4
one on the hull,
effectively. Oh, so effectively 5 then, have I? So I'm going to get a couple of las cannon hits, right? So it's not too bad.
No.
Yeah, I like it.
I quite like them with like you take the Pintle multi-laser, you take. I don't know if you can get the Sponson ones on this. You have to definitely get the whole front mounted. No, so you could literally go like hull mounted multi-laser, Pintle mounted multi-laser, and Sponson mounted multi-laser. So you're throwing out 12 shots, but then if you keep the heavy bolters, you're throwing out with 3 weapons, you're throwing out 12 shots.
Yeah. So there's a lot of DACA possibilities.
I think the Malcador is that it does fill that role of being able to throw out a lot of low or mid-strength, high AP shots just to give you some, just to stop people getting a bit too close to your armor.
And it's a cool looking tank.
It's a cool looking tank.
Itself is a great model. Yeah, I'm going to have one. It's a shame you can't squadron them, but I understand why some militia lists, why would they have a squadron of Malcadors?
I mean, they fixed a lot of the issues that the previous one had in first edition with it's a super heavy. It's no longer a super heavy.
Yeah, it's just got reinforced now. Same as the Typhon and the Cerberus have the same, don't they? They're just reinforced now, I think. Cool, okay. So Malcador's decent. The Lehman Russ. Lehman Russ is Lehman Russ, right? It's armed forces in the front still. It's got a third line. It is 10 at the rear, so bolt guns can cause penetrating hits. Boom, boom. 4 hull points. And the usual plethora of weapons, right? Plasma cannon.
Yeah, it's slightly different to the auxiliary. Slightly different to the auxiliary. You haven't got the 2 different assault and support, armored support, I think it is.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. It's all under 1 Russ. You've got your standard Russ with your main battle tank, your Gravis Lars, Gravis Auto, Vanquisher with Coax Auto cannon because it's not a Coax heavy stubber anymore. Demolition cannon and plasma cannon, so you don't get the macro Seeker like the Auxilia does.
No, well that's always been auxiliary only, isn't it? Even in the last edition, I think. So that aside, are there any normal Rust turrets or options that are not there? I don't think there are they? There's las cannons. Yeah, I think they're all there, apart from the auxiliary specific one.
Oh, there's that one. There's that old fortificator that never quite got into Heresy.
The Punisher cannon turret. That's not there, is it?
Yeah, there's the Punish cannon that's not on there.
I don't think that was. Yeah, that wasn't there last time, was it?
No, it wasn't. There's 2. You've got. It looks like the Demolisher, but it doesn't do the same thing. It sort of does the equivalent of the Super Heavy, where it's like you don't get a cover save, but the strength is lower. That never quite made it across to Heresy as well as the Punisher.
Okay.
But standard loadout as last time.
Russ as Russ, you'd probably put a searchlight on it so they can hit stuff in the
in the dark.
Fight, because almost every game is fought at night,
Yeah.
apparently, in the 31st millennium. So,
The only thing it doesn't really stand out, but it's a little bit of a niggle. Doesn't come with smoke launchers as standard, so if you want to pop smoke, you need to pay for that upgrade.
I think in all my years of playing games, I've popped smoke once.
Oh no, it's tactical. It's one of those.
I do get a screaming on popping smoke.
Well, it's one of those. I like to. It depends how you're doing it. Like, you could move a unit to another unit and not pop smoke until after it's fired, and then it's not getting shot back because it's obscured.
Yeah, I think the time when I popped the smoke was because I'd had a weapon destroyed result, and I was trying to prevent my tank from being killed to give up a victory point.
No, that's fair. That's when smoke launchers come in.
Because I like to be able to shoot stuff, so I'm very unlikely to pop smoke and not shoot things.
I mean, I like the Imperialis. The Rus is a Rus. It's cheaper. It's 120 points because of third line. It's still 14 armor on the front. Your las cannons are still going to struggle. It is what it is.
Yep. Rus is Rus. Good all-round tank.
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on.
And here's your big ordnance.
Ordnance batteries. So these are the old static
Basilisk.
carriages and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, not a lot to say about those really. Medusas were ruined.
No. I mean, it's one of those. I think the Earthshaker.
That sounds really, really salty. They were just. They probably needed to get hit with a nerf back because they were gross in first edition. They just used.
They were so strong.
The fact that you regularly go to an event and someone would put down 3 Legion Medusas, you'd be like, oh, here we go. And now you don't see any. So it's gone right over the other way. Yeah.
I mean, both Strength 9, AP 4, Large Blast. It's just Medusas now get that Rending. Yeah, it's a nice way to access a Large Blast.
I like that you can add 16 additional militia gunners to this.
Yeah, but only 2 additional gun carriages.
Sure, but
no minimum range anymore, though.
It's got to be manned, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Which includes less than 2 militia gunners for each carriage. Resolve the ballistic skill 1. Okay, so it can still fire if you lose loads and loads of crew, but just a ballistic skill.
Not very well. No, like I said, the interesting thing for me is they no longer have a minimum range. So the Earthshaker can fire within 24, 36 inches of itself.
Okay, yeah, that's handy because that indirect fire stuff.
It was awful before.
It was also, you always had to go and look it up because you could never remember what the wording was.
I mean, it's interesting, like remembering back to like previous Apocalypse games and seeing Earthshakers fire onto tables on the other side of the hall.
Yeah, we should work in rules for that at an event.
I mean, it's interesting because you could do that. Well, no, you do that mission type where you've got to protect the artillery that's firing on another battlefield, sort of thing. I mean, it's interesting. It's a different mission type. It adds some fun to the game.
Okay, so thoughts on these though? As a choice, yay or nay? Would you take them?
I think it's one of those again. They take up a heavy weapon slot. They're fighting for space with Rus. Depends what you want to do. You want something more mobile? You go for the Rus.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to say, I don't think, because I'll tell you we can't react to that. I don't think these are good enough that I would take them over, say, a Malkador or something like that. So.
The fact they're only AP4, but they're Strength 9, Large Blasts.
Yeah, but I mean, like, rule of cool, if you want a bank of artillery batteries back, then absolutely fill your boots.
Get your Earthshaker cannons on the Classic Forge World, cross platforms.
Yeah,
it looks fantastic.
Absolutely.
Are they as effective as they were last edition? No.
No, they're not.
Definitely not.
And I'm going to go past them now. Cool. So, one of the coolest tanks Forge World have ever made.
And they've redone the mold. Thank you very much.
The Gorgon. Okay, so it is still super heavy. It is third line. But, front armor 15 because of that prowl that it's got.
Yeah. At least, like I say, super heavy, but it's a heavy support choice, not a load of war.
And it's still 8 hull points, and I say only 250 points for an 8 hull point super heavy, which
Boy
yes,
capacity. Yeah.
so it's going to deliver what it needs to. Now, my only gripe about this, my gripe's too strong a word, but it only moves 8. So
It's a crawl.
yeah, it's a really really slow transporter. So yes, it will probably, because it's quite survival, get your troops where they need to go more than likely, and on turn 4 they can get out and do something, because it's going to take that long to get there. So yeah, I kind of wish it moved a bit faster. Maybe 10 would make a bit of a difference. But yeah, it's only a minor gripe. I still think it's an amazing model, and that alone would make me want to get one probably. Just 'cause it looks
I mean,
great.
the only big change from first edition is, it's got third line, but you've got the extra options now for the side batteries, whereas before you had the mortars, or you could take a sponson, whereas now you can take 2 pairs of sponsons, so you have those forward and rear facing weapons.
I thought you could do that before. I thought the militia one could be
No.
upgraded to have las cannons front and back or something.
No, that's that top option that both its pintle mounted ones, so you could previously have the twin linked las cannons.
Oh, okay. Because maybe I'm misremembering. Because I did have a Gorgon from Militia Army ages ago, and I'm sure in the rules I was able to change the 2 pintle mounts at the back to autocannons, and
Yeah.
remove the Gorgon mortar batteries and put las cannons on the side.
The kit comes with mortar battery and sponsons, but
yeah, the kit didn't have
don't
any. I had to cannibalise some from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I
No,
don't know. If you know the answer, put it in the comments to tell either Luke or myself that we're wrong.
Yeah.
I'd be quite happy to
You're
know.
wrong.
Yeah, you suck. Reforged don't know anything.
Yeah. Learn your rules. I think it's an interesting unit. I love the model. It's so different from anything out there. Will it see tail all the time? I think it will. It'll definitely get units where they need to be, even if it takes it 4 turns to do it.
I think the barrier to seeing this on the table probably is going to be the cost of the model.
Yeah, it's not a cheap model.
What is it, like 230 quid or something? It's really expensive.
I don't know, because Ford would like to put that percentage up every 6 months.
I'm sure it's something like that. It's definitely over £200, but it's an amazing kit, and I absolutely love it. And
oh yeah,
that's something
having just done one for somebody, the new mold is lovely as well.
Oh, yeah,
it's not like the old one. Yeah.
Yeah, building the old one did give me more than a little bit of stress.
Yeah.
Not quite kind of Storm Eagle level, but it was close.
No. I've seen some that came out of the old mold and the recast ones, and they were awful. This new mold, they've redone it. It is like a new kit. It's lovely.
Cool. Okay. Well, when I've got that much cash floating around, maybe I'll get one. Okay. So off Heavy Sport and on to I think our first and only. I'm just going to go spin now. Lord of War choice. Is the Baneblade for 400 points.
I like the points cost. It has brought it back down to a reasonable price for me. There is, like we've talked about, there is a couple of changes from the solar one.
Yeah.
Front armor 14 rather than 13. It's got 3 less hull points than the solar. It doesn't come with the sponsons as cost. It doesn't come with a sponson, so you've got to pay for them.
That's third line.
And it's third line again. But being a super heavy, I don't think third line is as much of a.
No, it's not. And I think this thing is probably, in this army for 400 points, is worth its weight in gold. I think it's be brilliant for 400 points. Genuinely.
I don't think the Baneblade is what it was. I just don't think its weapons profiles are as good as they need to be. I struggle to justify it.
You wouldn't have it.
I love the model. I think it's a centerpiece model like the Gorgon. Love to see it. I just don't think the weapons do enough.
I don't know. I mean, Demolish Cannon is a bit rubbish or grindy.
It's the Baneblade cannon, mate. The rules for it have changed. It used to be a 10-inch, 7-inch blast, AP2. It's not even AP3. It's AP4 now.
Is it breaching?
No, it's rending 6+.
Only 6+. Yeah.
Yeah. 72-inch range, strength 8, AP 4, ordnance 1, large blast 5, pinning Brendan 6+. It's just not enough of a threat. If that fires at a tactical squad, the tactical squad's going to get a save. It doesn't live up to the fluff. It's the tank. It's the tank that appears, and every man and his dog wet their pants because they go, "Oh my god!" It comes out now, and you're like, "Great, you might take a whole point off me, but your third line, I'm going to take more off you."
Maybe that's enough. Maybe it's enough that it distracts everyone for 400 points, and they start worrying about it, and then all the other stuff does the damage.
Is it a 400? Yeah, I was going to say, is it a 400-point distraction card effect? I mean, for 400 points, what do you get in a militia list? Nearly an army.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay. I'm sad about that now. I was all pumped for a Beyblade.
I am. I love the Beyblade. I've got my own. I've got the Stormhammer. I've got my Storm Lord. I've got the Storm Blade. I just don't think the Baneblade chassis is as good in this edition as it was previously.
But it's 400 points compared to, what's the medium one, 750 or something?
750, yeah.
So nearly half the points.
Yeah. Is it half as good? No. For 400 points, I think it's a fair unit. But yeah, the Baneblade
really overpointed though, Luke.
Yeah, it is.
So the Legion one should be nowhere near 750 points, but that's a discussion for another video.
The solar one is the same points, and it's one less ballistic skill than the Astartes one. It's a joke.
Okay, all right. Moving off the Beyblade, let's we're into 2 hours now, so let's have a little skim through the militia armory, and then we'll call it a day, I think. So
yeah.
Okay, so militia cavalry that choose to run get shrouded. So that answers that earlier question anyway.
Yeah. Well, should we just go through the weapons list and just point out the stuff that you might not see anywhere else?
Yeah. Okay. There's nothing here that's. Hold on a second. So militia standard has +1 to wound score to decide if you're in combat. Vexo
and against standard, and against stubborn.
And against some, sorry, yeah. Okay. Flak armor 5+ armor, carapace 4+. Yeah. Okay. So nothing too exciting there. Cool. Right. Weapons list then. So what's in here that we may not have seen? Stub carbine.
Stub carbine. It's an assault 3. Yeah.
What's that? 12 inches, strength 3, rapid fire. So not much going on there. Thunder. Oh, you did Thunderblast earlier on, didn't you? So what's Thunder Stub? Oh, Brutal 2. Only AP 40, but Brutal 2.
So the Thunder Stub is a weapon for the Ogrins, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. 6-inch range is a bit.
Yeah. If you're that close, you're probably already going to be an assault more than not.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing amazing in there, is there? Artillery?
No.
Nothing. Oh, the Caliate Miltor, but you went through that earlier on.
Yep. Gorgon mortars, but again, they're on the side of the Gorgon and they're one use only.
Yeah, they are pinning though. I suppose all mortars are pinning, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bolt weapons are bolt weapons. You've got the needle weapons, which are a little bit different. Obviously, you've got the normal needle pistol, but you've got the assault needler, cannon, and fullness, which are slightly different. I mean, that needle fullness is a sniper needle weapon, which is interesting.
6+, poison 2+, 2 shots as well, pinning. That's not bad actually.
No, I mean, I don't get how why he's breaching 6+ on sniper when if you roll a 6, you're already going to be applying the sniper rule of AP2.
Interesting.
I think it's an oversight.
Does sniper still give that base, or does it just allow you like precision shot? Is it automatically AP2 if it's sniper?
I need to read my rules a bit more. I've not played. I need to play more of this edition as well.
That's right. I'm not 100% sure now. I'm sure someone will tell us in the comments if we don't know the answer. Okay, so las weapons. I think these are the long las. That's the one.
Long las, yeah. So slightly different from the sniper rifle. That it's strength 6, AP 4, heavy 1, sunder, pinning, and sniper again.
Okay, so it's a sniper rifle with sunder.
Yeah.
Take away from that, I suppose. Strength 6. What could you damage with that? Maybe a rhino. good roll.
Yeah, I mean,
Not much
Rhino's
else.
only 11 on the front, isn't it? So, but again, you're trying to chip off hull points with an AP4 weapon. Is it effective unless it's multi-shots? Feels a bit of a waste.
You did heavy las cannon, blast pistols.
Mm-hmm.
Again, basically all these weapons are strength 6 AP4 or strength 3 AP6 that you got there.
Yeah. The heavy.
Charges.
If you come down to missile weapons, you've got the heavy crack and heavy frag, which are on the Thunderbolt, which are slightly different. Again, strength 8, AP3. AP3 against a vehicle is not particularly effective.
But I suppose your heavy crack, they have Skyfire, don't they? So it's AP3 against the flyer, so that might be alright at stripping off hull points.
I find strength 8 and AP3 a little bit of an odd balance.
Especially in this edition, because there's no jink. Beforehand, it was worth firing at things like that to make things jink. But they just don't bother now. So they could shroud or evade, if you like, and just ignore it on a 5-up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more tempted to take the heavy frag rocket just because it's a 5-inch blast.
And a pinning blast on that.
Yeah, which for your Thunderbolt, it's got enough weapons that it's a threat to armor, being 2 las, 4 auto.
Yeah.
Having that, it becomes a threat to infantry as well.
Okay, so plasma weapons, they're all pretty standard.
Yeah.
Volkite's all standard as well.
I mean, it's a bit of a thing for me. I don't even know why it bothers listing the Volkite macro Saker. It's not available on any unit.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Why bother with it on there? Thanks.
It was like forgot to remove that job.
Yeah. Okay. Billy the intern. Sort it out.
I think that'll probably come out in FAQ. Remove entries to macro Saker. Basic combat weapon, yeah. Okay,
power weapons are all the same. Power fist, thunder hammer, paragon blade, and then it's the 2 at the bottom that are more interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so militia lance. So these are upgrades for cavalry, right? Strength 7 AP3. What's ungainly? Okay, 1 attack.
The ungainly. Ungainly is not as bad as some of the rules that are out there. Yeah. Okay, it limits you to 1 attack.
But you are striking at least +2 initiative, brutal 2.
Yeah.
The melter lance upgrade. I thought, oh, that's good, but it's only 1 use, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the problem. When you look at what a unit can take, it can take the melter lance and it can take a melter gun. Why would you not take a melter gun? It's not 1 use.
I don't know why you would take the melter lance, because the militia lance is 1 strength lower but has brutal 2.
And
it has lance, the melter one. Okay.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah, the melter lance has got lance, but it's AP3 again. What's it doing against vehicles apart from chipping off hull points?
Yeah.
I
think I have other things to deal with vehicles, and I just take the militia lance to go and murder Space Marines.
The militia lance is great for hitting those standard squads that aren't in Artificer armor or Terminator armor.
Cool. Okay. Well, that is the end of the PDF. So, we have droned on now, Luke, for 2 hours. Rick got tired and left, which is entirely fair. It's quite late now. But yeah, if you've stuck with us, well done you. If you have any comments about the militia army list, please do leave them below. We do read everything. We will respond. If you pique our interest, or if you pique Luke's interest, or if you just want to tell us already, that's fine too. We accept it all, no problem. So, anything else to add, Luke?
No, I'm quite pleased with the militia PDF in general. There's a lot of interesting rules. It reminds me of the Alan Bligh period, where you could have interesting armies without being competitive. You've got so many options that you can do what you want.
If you were to give it a score out of 10, where would you put it?
I'd definitely give it a 6 or a 7. I think it's interesting. It's interesting, but obviously it's got its own limitations, and they're a little bit more glaring than with other armies.
Okay, cool. All right, well, yeah, as I say, let us know what you think. Thanks very much for watching, and if you are interested in supporting the channel, we do have an Element Games affiliate link in the description, so please buy all your resin and plastic goodies through there. It does help the channel out massively. We'd love to do more and more stuff, so please do all your stuff from Element. And if you like colourforged sprays, and we definitely do because they're amazing, they're much bigger than GW cans, we also have an affiliate link for that, so please do follow that for all your spray can goodness. That's enough from me. I'm very, very tired and a bit hoarse, so I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.